You're listening to Around Comics.
You are listening to Around Comics, and you are watching Around Comics, episode 408, where we talk about comics and other stuff. Probably we'll see. Who knows? Who knows? Why am
Who knows what'll happen?
I feel like I got way
Why are you
closer.
doing your face exercises?
Little
You
peacemaker.
idiot. He's crying.
He's crying, you asshole. I really want a vigilante spinoff. I don't know. I mean, obviously you can, because James Gunn was able to do something. I don't know. Give me a vigilante movie, whatever it may be. The origin, vigilante origin story. Whatever. I don't care.
I'll
take
a
anything.
happy story.
It's probably not.
Not
What's
gonna be a
happening,
happy
fellas?
story.
Not much.
Hey, bud. Good. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you.
Happy. Yeah, it's Tuesday. We're a little ahead of schedule. Show the magic.
The magic of the theater of the mind.
Theater. Sorry. So,
behind
yes.
the curtain, man.
Man, Wednesday was terrible. I'm glad it's Thursday, almost Friday now.
Shocking.
It's
The events of Wednesday. I'm surprised we're doing
If there's
this.
like huge news or something that happens on Wednesday.
Can you believe what happened
Rushing.
Wednesday? Who died? Did you know? Everyone died.
Or PJ O'Rourke died today. I saw.
I saw that. And who's the director? Ivan
Reitman.
Reitman died. Yeah.
So they die in threes. So who's in your death pool? Who's next?
Let's see. Betty White. Oh no, she died.
Celebrating death.
One of Hank Stram. Is he still alive? No, he's probably dead.
I don't think so. He was a kleptomaniac. Have you ever heard those? Have you heard those?
We've talked. Yes, we've talked multiple times on the podcast about Hank Stram being a kleptomaniac.
Why does Hank Stram come up so much on this podcast?
He's just one of those interesting guys. I don't know.
So he induces me to tell the kleptomania story.
Kleptomania. The alleged. You know, you should say. We don't know for sure. Do we?
Pretty sure.
It's the rumor and innuendo.
Yeah. It's a great story.
Did you guys enjoy the Super Bowl? Did you have fun Super Bowling it? Did you watch the Super Bowl? Anyone?
I did.
1 second.
I watched him.
No, I didn't watch a second of it.
Oh, didn't.
He was in the too much hot curling action.
Well,
Olympic curling.
He's like sitting there, he's sitting there with like all the monitors up all around him, like he's in the bat cave, just like monitoring.
There's usually two. That's the beauty of like not just like big time sport, but niche sports is with the internet now, and as much ad revenue as networks pull from any kind of sport, man, I can watch tons of curling matches. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw
curlers.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Do curlers ever get in trouble for performance enhancing drugs?
Yeah. Funny you say that.
Weed
came up today. It's obviously the Russians had, I think, 2 curlers that failed PED test.
Why? I mean,
what?
I'm not even making fun of it. I'm not joking about it. Like, what would like steroids?
For a
stamina
player, for a front end player, because they're playing 10 ends and sometimes 2 games in a day, especially in a tournament like this, it is a grueling sport for the first 2 players. The sweeping is if you ever
is it maybe EPO? Like, is it doping, blood doping, EPO, old school blood doping? Maybe
anything that would improve endurance and strength.
The classic blood doping.
Blood doping. I mean, gotta love it. Respect it.
Yeah.
Respect the game.
Yeah, respect the game. Yeah.
I saw a curler today, a picture of a guy. I think he was on Team USA, and he had like a 70s stash and like long hair.
Oh, Hamilton. It's Matt Hamilton. He's from Madison.
Yeah, he was something else. He was a spectacle. I mean, he's
auctioning. That's his COVID hair, and he's auctioning the hair for charity.
Ew, ew! I don't want your COVID hair,
Back in the
dude.
day,
He's donating the hair and raising a bunch of money with it. But yeah, he's
To
a
bald
back in the
curlers.
day, you used to wear a suit to the rink. To play. And
Back in
now-
my
That's
day,
true. That's
back
true.
in my day,
high heels and cufflinks.
Yep.
Yep.
To go to
What does the world come to? How old is curling in the United States? I know it's from Scotland, right? Like
Oldest,
originally.
yeah, it's goes back to the early 1500s, but oldest club in the United States. There's controversy. It's either Milwaukee or Detroit.
There's always some controversy.
Milwaukee is the oldest continuously running club. Detroit was originally founded 2 years later, or 2 years earlier, in 1846.
Yeah,
but they stopped.
There was a break somewhere. So
interesting.
And then they started again. Yeah,
you're out then.
You're out of the race,
right?
Yeah,
because
1889.
Well, you can start something and then like be defunct for 80 years and be like, we're still.
I don't know what's our fucking.
Well, it's the first.
So we started in 2006. It's 2021.
Yeah.
We took
we stopped
7 years off.
I guess. What was your question, Sal? Was it the longest, the oldest?
I just said the oldest. When, like, how far back does curling go in the United States? When did people start curling in the United States?
I guess you're having a debate about whether the Detroit club is still truly the same Detroit club.
Well, they were the first. I'm not saying they were the oldest of them, but if they were the first, I would go with that was the answer that I was looking for. I wasn't trying to make it a competition as far as like who was.
I am.
Yeah, of course, Tom. It's I appreciate that.
That's what
I would like to pit. Yeah, I want to pit these people against each other.
I can't wait for summer.
Not just on the ice. Oh yeah.
Not just. What
are you looking forward to in summer? I'm starting
not talking about curling is the first thing.
Ball.
Bocce
courts.
What's the
lawn bowling? There's a big lawn bowling
lawn darts
up here in Milwaukee.
I do enjoy some bocce. I have a friend who keeps threatening to make a bocce court in his backyard, and he has the room for it.
The crushed oysters.
See, he's Italian, and he says that's bullshit. That's just from a movie. That whole crushed oyster thing's bullshit.
Oh, I remember in college.
He's a landscaper, so he's an Italian landscaper. So I don't know.
Take his fucking word over mine, obviously.
I'm a Easter weekend 1999.
Bocce.
We played bocce ball. It might be it might be earlier.
Wait, let me write this down.
We played bocce ball Easter weekend in the outside the dorms, the southeast dorms in Madison, outside Celery Hall.
Oh,
and because it was Easter weekend, we drank an insane amount Friday night to rise from the dead on Sunday
to celebrate Jesus' death,
to celebrate the roll back the stone.
Roll back the stone.
Roll back the stone.
I will give college students, an A+ for creativity of excuses to drink or just events.
Drink a lot.
Yeah.
I think I did sleep all Saturday.
I did this last Saturday. I slept till 11 o'clock or 11:30.
Damn,
which is the latest. Yeah, I was very, very drunk the night before, and it's been a long time since I've been that drunk. But Sunday I got up and I replaced some gas line in my house, so I felt like that made up for it.
Oh wow,
that's very manly.
That's the most manly thing I've heard this week.
Just cranking on some cast iron pipe, putting the gas line in.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
That's right. That's how we do it down here.
Some dad stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
not this fucking dad.
Well, I ran out of money, so I didn't want to pay for someone else to do it. I figured
I don't fuck with gas. Yeah, everyone talks about your dad's teaching you things. My dad taught me one very important thing. He goes, son, there's two things in the house I don't fuck with: electricity and gas. And he said, I can change a light switch, but yeah, beyond that.
So your dad was a woman, is what you're trying to tell us? Is that
One
No,
important thing,
no.
Chris.
No,
You can't
we were good
handle doing this.
I'm just kidding. I know your dad. I'm just kidding. No, electricity. I don't really. Well,
I can change.
I've been
sockets
banned
and
from my friend who is a commercial electrician from doing any electrical work in my house because he just has to come and fix it then. But gas, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy.
to
You
blow
just gotta
up
shut it off. Nah, you
Turn it off.
you just turn it off and then just crank it down and you'll smell it. You'll smell it if there's a leak.
Yeah.
It's
nice. Do we have any comics to talk about instead of curling and Sal's laying pipe?
I have one I want to just mention quickly. One because it was Valentine's Day this past oops.
Oh no.
DC Comics came out with
Guys, I gotta go.
Yeah, guys, I don't know what you've been. Whoops, sorry. You should really put that in your calendar. They came out with Strange Love Adventures. It was I think it's a one shot. Very, very throwback to romance comics. And it was like 8 different stories. And it was kind of fun. I was actually surprised that I enjoyed it. Some of the stories are like any anthology kind of thing. It's like some are kind of crap and some are pretty good, but the one that I wanted to mention more than anything was the last one, which was there was a Peacemaker one that was pretty funny, but the last one was a Batman and the Riddler story, and it was written by Ram V, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite writers in comics. But more importantly, it was drawn by one of our favorite former past guests, friend of the program, Mr. Phil Hester, with some inks. Now he didn't ink it all, but Andy Parks did ink part of the book as well.
They're important inks too.
Yeah, and it was really a good story. It was really a beautifully drawn, elegantly written sort of Batman story, and it was a mystery. And Batman was actually a detective in it, and it was still had to do with Valentine's Day and love and the Riddler sort of lost loves. And there's this in the beginning of it, you get probably my favorite scene in the whole book was Batman shows up, the Riddler has left him a message, and it's sort of a cutout. Paper cutout letter, and it's 4 letters, GAQJ, and then a question mark and the bat, and then it's written, the whole note like a riddle is written on it. But it was just so beautifully sort of illustrated by Phil. I really love that page and that scene particularly, and I just thought like I said, it was a really cute little story, and at the same time like a good little Batman story with the Riddler and a riddle and a mystery, and yet it had to do of the book. I felt like it was easily the best story in the book, both art and writing. Ram V's becoming, like I said, one of my favorite writers.
Well, so Andy posted about that. So that's
that's it, right?
Yeah,
that's his last inking.
If he can help it, that's his swan song inking. So I think it was awesome to see him go out inking Phil, who they were such a duo for so long, and I don't think that Phil, ever looks better than he does when Andy's inking him.
And it was just now that I'm looking at it, it was actually just the last page. It's a 10-page story, and Andy inked just the last page. So I think it was sort of almost like signing the player to a one-day contract kind of thing to let him go out. He gets to finish out on a Batman story with Phil Hester writing it, or drawing it, and pretty cool. Eric Gasper did the inks on pages 1 through 9. Very good, very very nice job of doing it. But it was pretty cool to see Andy go out on a last page on a good story, on a really good story.
Salute.
So to you, Mr. Andy Parks.
No more inks.
Wasn't he our first creator guest? Was Andy our first?
No, Phil was.
Phil was our first.
Episode 10. Phil was our first first creator guest, and Andy was the first like creator of note to leave us like an iTunes review, which was hilarious.
That is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Not getting any of those these days, I'll tell you that much. No
No.
creators leaving us.
Oh,
They got their own podcast. They're all doing their
yeah, they're on their own fucking subreddits and all that. You know, good for them. You know, make it any way you can, kids.
We don't need it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
we don't need you.
Yeah,
we don't need your reviews.
Oh, I want your reviews. Yeah, I don't care about the interviews anymore.
Yeah, leave reviews, but don't not if you're a creator. I don't care. Separation of
only Alan Moore. I want a very wordy, like 9,000 word iTunes review from Alan Moore.
Alan Moore is not listening to podcasts on like a device. It's all magic.
Just translate. Did you see? Did if you have not seen it, check out Jason Latour's. I think it was on his Instagram or his Twitter or both. He posted like a 5-panel little comic that he did where it was basically him as the host of a Hot Ones ripoff show, but it's with comic book creators, and so he's the host of Hot Ones, and Alan Moore was his first guest eating hot chicken wings, and
that's hilarious.
It's pretty hilarious. It's pretty funny.
Is Latour still canceled? I don't keep up with things.
Was he?
Oh yeah. I thought I don't want to get into that whole story, but I think he was caught up in
maybe it wasn't Latour then. Maybe it was someone else. Who's wait, no, I'm pretty sure it was Jason Latour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was someone else.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to talk about that. Have you guys been reading the Miles Morales book from Marvel, the Straight Outta Brooklyn?
I have not.
There's only one Spider-Man.
I'm gonna have
Ben Parker.
Tom, Tactical Tom will put on his sunglasses.
I was over on the Hoopla, and for February, I don't know if this is for just Milwaukee or if it's all Hoopla libraries. Like they have a bunch of rentals that won't go against your cap if you have a cap. I can only check out, I think it's 3 or 4 comics a month on
Boo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think I get
Poverty Library. Surprised your library keeps the power on.
Their library is basically one of those little book things at the end of a driveway.
We have a delightful library here, but
you can check out as many Hoopla books if you also check out the Bible. It's Wisconsin.
Gideon.
Yeah, but it's got to be a specific version of Bible.
Yeah,
New Testament.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, they have a bunch of
downloaded the good
comics.
news, my friend.
I hate you guys. There's a bunch of books that you can check out now that won't go against your Hoopla total. One of those was Miles Morales.
Get to it already, Chris.
Volume 1, straight out of Brooklyn.
Straight out of Brooklyn.
It makes me understand and appreciate,
which is now very gentrified.
Well, it makes me realize and appreciate why there's a new Spider-Man, because this much history, you can't just de-age Peter Parker. I think they've tried to do that. That was where the Ultimate Spider-Man came in, and I think part of that character that we all enjoy is the high school Spider-Man, of having to deal with Aunt May and studying and the girlfriend, and oh, by the way, he was out late at night fighting Kraven the Hunter, that kind of stuff, and balancing the life superhero mix. And you don't get that in Spider-Man as much anymore, but Miles Morales really kind of recaptures that, the great Ditko and Romita Jr. or Romita Sr. Spider-Man era, I guess. So
young loser Spider-Man.
It's even though Miles Morales
teenage loser.
Teen loser.
but he's not a loser. He's just overworked.
All teenagers.
Basically.
Here's the thing, guys. All teenagers are losers.
It's
Your brains
I
aren't even
see 'em all
developed fully.
the time.
You know.
Yeah, I see them all the time on the bus. They're all losers.
but it does a nice job of definitely setting Miles apart and making him his own character. He's not just a young, black Latino version of Peter Parker. He's his own character, if that makes any sense.
Black Tino? Is that Black Tino? I don't know the proper verbiage for that.
I don't know. He's a person of color.
Yeah, I've never heard that, so I'm not gonna.
No, oh, it's probably wrong then. Yeah, that's why I asked. That's why I asked the questions. Tom.
Yeah,
I'm out of the loop. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, what are people saying?
What are the kids saying these days? I don't know.
What are the kids saying these days?
I think it makes complete sense. Like, it gets to a point where it's like Spider-Man gets married, Spider-Man has children, Spider-Man has a 401k, Spider-Man is wrinkly, and it's at some point, Aunt May is 900 years old, and Spider-Man is facing AARP membership, and so I think Spider-Man was a popular character in the beginning. One of the reasons was because he was a different kind of superhero. Like before Spider-Man, you had adults that were superheroes. Essentially, you had Superman and Batman or Captain America, or sidekicks.
That's the only kids were sidekicks, right?
Yeah, and he was very likable because he was relatable to teens. I mean, you knew what it was like to go to high school and maybe not be very popular, or to get picked on, or to have too much shit going on because you're kind of grown up but you're kind of still a kid and you don't know what you want to do with the rest of your life, and you're all those you love
all have our Flash Thompsons.
Yeah, right.
We all have our Flash Thompsons, right?
And you're in love with a supermodel, but she's in high school and you got a shot because you're
smart.
Shoot your shot,
Spider-Man. But
there are some funny moments I think Tom would giggle at where Miles ends up teaming up with it's a funny team up. It's him and Rhino and Captain America, and there's a moment where they're at basically a crime scene, and Captain America, they're trying to analyze something, and he's having trouble figuring out his iPhone because there's too many apps. Then he gets them confused, and so Miles has to kind of like bail him out and use his smartphone. So there's definitely some making fun of the boomers kind of thing in this comic.
Well, he's the greatest generation. He's not he's way before Boomer.
Well,
let me give the guy a break. He was frozen in ice when computers were created.
Sure. He doesn't know what
he was killing Nazis, punk. What were you doing? You weren't even a glint in whoever your father is. I don't even know who's Miles Morales' dad. Mr. Morales' eye.
Mr. Morales.
Is there an Aunt May in Miles Morales' life? Does he have an aunt?
No, he's got his parents. But he doesn't live with his parents because he goes to school in Brooklyn, and I think they're in Queens or something. So,
because in the movie, like, didn't he have like an uncle was sort of not an Aunt May, but he had it wasn't the uncle that got him in trouble, kind of like, or gave him the shoes, or I can't remember. It's been a while. I need to watch that movie again. It's a good movie.
And in the comic, his uncle ends up being someone of note as well.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
That was the mildest fucking spoiler ever.
I was kidding.
Asshole.
Well, get ready, guys, because I'm gonna spoil the shit out of Peter David's Hulk from the 80s.
Nice. Go for it.
I'm gonna ruin it for you.
Yeah.
Why have you been reading that?
Is this like the
I don't know. We talked about the Maestro, and I was like, I haven't read those any Peter David Hulk in a long time, and I don't think I've ever read the whole thing. I've only read portions of it. So Hoopla had the first Visionaries trade, and I was like, oh, okay, I haven't read this in a long time. It's been, literally, I don't know if I've ever. I say I haven't read it in a long time. There's kids I've never read that first one.
Or there's huge chunks that.
When did that come out originally? The first. Was that early 90s?
he wrote the Hulk for a long time.
Over 100 issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had the entire run at one point of Peter David's Hulk.
I mean, it must be earlier than the 90s, because X Factor, like the Cyclops, like the original X-Men X Factor,
Oh, right,
teams up with them. So,
oh my God,
I mean, and I read it. I was like, oh damn, yeah, this is really good. I'm really into it. I'm reading the second one now. I'm fully in on it. It was kind of fun not to record on a Tuesday, not to record on a Thursday, because I didn't really have anything to read that I hadn't already read. So I used the opportunity to read some old comics, and it's really cool because I had forgotten that McFarlane worked on that stuff.
Oh yeah,
at the beginning, and it's crazy to read it.
Right.
Yeah, and and his Hulk is awesome. Like,
yes,
it's gray, sort of like, it's so like I don't want to
massive.
Say brutal, because he's big, like, and like the rubble is really rubbly. Like when the Hulk like destroys something, it's like destroyed. Like it's just like really violent in a sense of like the destruction's really destructive, and the Hulk is really like massive and like angry, and you can kind of feel it. And like to see even in like the first like 10 issues that McFarlane drew, like how much better he got in those 10 issues, like where you start to see like by the time he's getting to the end of his, like, you know, in the second Visionaries trade, to see he's starting to do some of like the weird layout stuff that he would do, where like, you know, like he would kind of have like, you know,
he would carry over to Spider-Man.
Like you know, that he would play around with, right? Where there was one where the Hulk fights X Factor and Iceman freezes the Hulk, right? And like, so he's interspersed all these like individual panels of like the Hulk's eyes closed because he's like frozen in there, and then in one moment you see a panel with like the Hulk's eyes open, and it's not a full panel, it's just like this little window in between like two other story panels. And it was like, oh, that's really cool, you know, and kind of seeing like McFarlane really kind of like get really awesome at doing that stuff over the course so quickly over the course of these stories, like kind of like take that sort of like giant leap in there. But also just like the forward to the first one, you know, like Peter David talks about how like he worked in like the sales department of Marvel, and no one wanted to give him an assignment, like, because like he got Spider-Man for a little while and everyone got pissed about it, so he got fired off of it and no one wanted to do it. But no one wanted to do the Hulk, like literally like no one wanted to do it, so he took it. And like you know, it's like one of those cases where like when you read something and you're like, wow, the Hulk book's in a really strange place, where this guy is like starting to write it like the Hulk's not inside Bruce Banner anymore, and like, oh, Rick Jones is the Hulk, and there's the Hulk Busters, and it's like, oh my god, what the, you know, like it's obvious like at some point they didn't know what to do with the Hulk, and there's like all this crazy, you know,
you could only
stuff.
have so many battles out in the desert against you know, General what's his nuts, you know, it's
Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah. And to sort of see Peter David and McFarlane sort of like make sense of all that over the course of like, you know, 12 issues of like figuring out like, actually here's actual rules for the Hulk, you know, as opposed to sort of like, you know,
not knowing what the Hulk is.
Yeah, like what does he do? You know, like, you know, letting the Gray Hulk have a voice, and like incorporating Bruce Banner's like family history that I guess other writers had talked about before, but it had been sort of like picked up and dropped, like incorporating that into it, and like finding a way to like make the Gray Hulk kind of likable, even though he's terrible, and making Bruce Banner sort of very unlikable and very like I don't know, like
we don't want to see that guy. We want the Hulk. We don't really want
but being like sort of like doing it like there's all these stories that they do that could be really super cliche, like you know with the the Hulk meets another like gamma based villain who doesn't have any like morals or anything. Like he's just he's just killing people, right? And like he's trying to tempt the Hulk into being like, why do you even mess around with like why don't you just like do whatever you want? Who cares, right? And the Gray Hulk is sort of like kind of into it, but like in the sort of weird way that Peter David sets up that character, he never really does anything that bad. Like he talks a lot about being angry and bad, but when things really come down to it, he actually usually sort of does the right thing. Like even if it like he's got to pretend like he's doing it for some other reason. Like there's always like a part of the Gray Hulk that's kind of like not as bad as his bark is much worse than his bite at times, you know. Like there's a story where he like encounters a kid who's like been abused, and the Hulk just like is the Gray Hulk who talks this big game about not caring about anything, like warms up to the kid and like saves the kid because of his own family history of abuse and stuff like that. That could be really like I don't know, like kind of cliche. They find a way to make it work, and like you get attached to this character that maybe you shouldn't really be attached to, right? And then when Bruce Banner shows up, you're like, get this guy out of here,
this nerd out of here,
nerd who's like, you know, so desperate. He so desperately loves the Hulk, even though he wants to get rid of the Hulk. He is always willing to turn into the Hulk anytime, you know, it's needed. Like,
can't fix his own problems, can't do anything for himself.
Problems, right? And so having not read those, I was like, oh yeah, it's really cool, really good to watch, and really interesting to read. And like the mechanics of like not fixing the Hulk, but sort of being like, okay, let's blow up Gamma Base, get rid of all the Hulk busters. Like, how do we like? What the fuck does Rick Jones do? Like the ultimate question of all time. Like, what the fuck is
still trying to figure it out.
Rick Jones
trying to figure
everything.
Yeah, right. Like it's like
he ended the Kree Skull War. I mean, we wouldn't be here without him.
Now he is riding in a fucking RV with some shield guy like across the country. You know, like I think he makes a joke about that at some point because it's like Rick Jones, former Captain America sidekick, former Captain Marvel side. You know, like just like what do we do with this guy?
Yeah, that was a period like. So it was, I looked it up. It was 87 when he started with the Hulk, and like I said, 12 years, and that was sort of a period of time. I was a teen, you know, from 16 and then to 28 or whatever, and you know, that was a period of time where I was like kind of falling away from comics a bit. I was you know, it was like, should I be reading comics? I don't know, that kind of thing. But I stuck with like there was like 2 or 3 books that I kept reading, and it was the Hulk, Peter David's Hulk, and it was Daredevil and Captain America. Those 3 books I just kept buying and reading, and I kept and like I said, I think I had the entire Peter David run because I couldn't stop buying it. It was so good, and I just I was like, wow, I loved what he was doing with that character, and he just kept coming up with weird story ideas and different things, and taking the Hulk in different areas. And yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and read that stuff. That was
awesome.
It's
like,
what do you guys prefer? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it's just I love it's always fun to read those visionaries, right? Of like, I don't know, there's something. It's great to read those and be like, oh yeah, this is really good. Like, like I get it. Yeah. Like I totally understand why.
Oh,
I
love the test format.
Of time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, here's a greatest hits from the Marvel catalog. Yeah. It's a story from an era, and you know it's important and it's going to be good. The John Byrne FF visionaries are awesome.
And there's this one issue where McFarlane doesn't in the first one where he doesn't, but John Ridgway, who does Constantine later, does like one single story, which is amazing. Like the art is fantastic in it. Nice. And it's just really like, you know, I don't know. I feel like the Hulk is a topic that comes up a lot because we're always like, what is the Hulk? What's the definitive Hulk? Like what are the rules? You know, like, who knows what the real, you know, and like, it's just interesting to see, probably, I guess, what would be the closest to kind of, if the TV show didn't exist, Definitive Hulk,
right?
Or like the Marvel movies, maybe that, but yeah. So go ahead, ask me your Hulk question that you're gonna.
Do you prefer Smart Hulk or Savage Hulk?
I mean, I think you always you're always.
Hold on, Tom. Before you answer that question, I have to say something. Guys, if there's one thing I know after all these years, if there's one thing I've realized all these years of doing this podcast, is that we're not experts. And that's why it's a good thing that this episode is brought to you by Experts Exchange.
Yeah, we barely remember
the original technology community. This is true.
We don't know anything.
If you're in IT, listen up. This might literally be the answer to all of your problems. I know I'm not the only one who's been stuck on a problem at work. We've all been there, and we all do the same thing when it happens. We go to Google, we search online, we scour Reddit or some other message board, and maybe we find some random dude on a random forum who posted an answer to our questions 10 years ago. And we just have to trust that he's right. If you trust the wrong person, you could be putting your organization and yourself at risk. I mean, this guy could be a complete psycho. You never know. What if I told you you didn't have to trust some random psycho? Yeah, there's lots of psychos. There's literally serial killers probably on Reddit. But what if I told you didn't have to trust them? What if there was a group of people you knew you could trust? That's Experts Exchange, or EE, as I like to call them. Experts Exchange is a community of thousands of tech professionals who have been helping each other solve problems for 25 years. Their members are highly accomplished with titles like Microsoft MVP, Oracle ACE, or other titles that I don't know what they mean. But you don't have to be an expert to be on EE.
Not one of them is a serial killer.
Well, as far as we know, none of them are serial killers. This is true. You don't have to be an expert to be on EE, but you just have to be willing to help. No one can be an expert in everything. That's why you need to surround yourself with people you can trust and not complete psychos. Right now, listeners to this podcast can join EE completely free for 7 days. Just go to e-e.com to get started. That's e-e.com, and let them know that Around Comics sent you, because we don't know what we're talking about. So there you go. Go ahead and answer. Now, Tom, go ahead and answer that question.
Well, no, I want to know a little bit more of this, because I am the guy that is at work trying to figure out what the fuck is going wrong with this printer or blah, blah, blah. So based with this,
someone's hacked the printer.
So this is a reliable place to ask tech questions, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's a community of experts that you can go to, and if you're a member, you can ask all sorts of experts questions on your IT and tech questions, and respond.
If you could email M.O.D.O.K.
if you could just Braniac, M.O.D.O.K. They're kind of psychos though. That kind of goes against maybe Reed Richards. Reed Richards might be on there. Mr. Fantastic.
Well, Miss M.O.D.O.K. respects the integrity of IT.
This is true. Anything,
crime, beyond all other things.
M.O.D.O.K.
respect
really
the
is
integrity
an
of the IT help desk.
M.O.D.O.K. respects network integrity for sure.
You have to.
Very important.
If you don't respect that, it's chaos.
Who do you think is more of a technology expert, M.O.D.O.K. or Braniac?
M.O.D.O.K.
Wow, which
terrestrial
Braniac?
Origin?
Which Braniac?
That's true. There are multiple Braniacs.
We're talking about Earth technology, so.
Oh, this is true. That's true. Braniac, M.O.D.O.K.
Braniac's never printed anything.
He's never used
He's never had
mainframe.
He's not once been to Lexmark's website trying to download outdated drivers.
M.O.D.O.K's updated a driver in his time.
For sure. Sure.
Braniac, no.
He probably has to update all the time with that giant head. I mean, his body's little tiny arms. What if he gets a glitch, like some sort of glitch in his arm, software? All of a sudden he's just slapping his own giant head, and that's not, you can't
download
have that.
ARM driver.
What the hell driver. Did you just see Old Doc What was that?
We were just talking about Old Man Logan, Old Doc. It was
Doc.
it was Wastelanders, wasn't it?
Okay. Was it
Or
Maestro?
No.
Oh yeah, it was Maestro.
It's Maestro. Yeah.
Going back to Hulk.
Gets us back.
So you're saying
Hulk.
Smart Hulk or Rampaging Hulk?
Is that the only two choices?
No, because I mean that's largely because of Peter David. They've had Smart Hulk, and then Mr. Fix-It, and then there's the Beast, but the kind of evil Hulk, and then there's just the Beast. So what like phase of that character do you appreciate?
It's a tough question. I think it depends. Like, I don't know if you can stay in anyone forever. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is part of the Hulk. Is like now it's part of the Hulk. It's like that. The nature of him kind of shifts and changes because it's like Peter David, gets a hold of the gray skin Hulk, and like it's good that he can talk because that's a big part of the story. The Hulk, can communicate. Like he's got his own, like
he wears a fedora.
Agenda. Yeah, exactly. He's got his own agenda, and like, whereas the rampaging Hulk, is cool to see with other characters sometimes, but I don't know how sustainable it always is.
Then it's more of a Bruce Banner book, right? Like when it's that character, unless it's World War Hulk, which was sort of an ingenious, let's just put the Hulk somewhere where.
Well, no, but he wasn't the rampaging Hulk then. He was intelligent, but it was that different. It was the different personality. It wasn't Banner. It was the Hulk's personality, not Banner's mind.
Right.
Hulk, right. Yeah. That was after. That was the Hulk out of World War Hulk, right?
Well,
Planet
I guess
Hulk.
You could say.
Or I
guess you could say like, maybe one of the legacies of Peter David was sort of showing the value of letting the Hulk shift and change, and like you could make the Hulk kind of be, what you wanted it to be. Like he can be as smart as you want, he can be as dumb as you need for the story to operate, or as vicious.
That's what Stan planned from the beginning. When I wrote the Hulk,
totally,
I knew you could do anything.
I mean, like the amount of time spent being like, why was the Hulk? Why did he turn into the Hulk at night originally? And it's like, why? I don't know. Like it's
why was he gray for three issues and then green?
Like I don't know. I guess we're just trying to.
We couldn't print green.
Exactly.
That was it. That was why it was gray. The printer didn't have they couldn't print the green, so they printed them gray. Yeah, it was a printer error.
So I'm going to keep going with the Visionaries. I'm just going to read the whole thing.
Nice.
All of them.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so. They're pretty good. There's a good Wolverine one in the second Visionaries where he fights Wolverine in Texas.
It's that late 80s.
That's the great cover with the Wolverine's reflection or Hulk's reflection in Wolverine's claws.
Great covers.
Right?
Just great covers overall in that run of just like these really fun, like they remind me a little bit of like my favorite Flash covers when Carmine Infantino used to get a little crazy with like the Flash spelled out in letters and like the rogues are all draped over it, when they would get kind of a little crazy with like the logo treatment and like bust out of sort of the traditional, like this is how a comic book is laid out with the title on top and blah, blah, definitely sort of bending those rules.
Speaking of Flash, there was a pretty good, funny little Flash story in that strange romance, or Strange Love Adventures. There was Barry is racing home to Iris, and he's like, "Oh, I'm finally gonna be on time for Valentine's Day with Iris," and he like busts in the door and there's Gorilla Grodd and Gorilla Grodd's holding Iris and he's like he punches Gorilla Grodd in the face, and it turns out Grodd wasn't there to hurt her. He was there for advice because he was in love with a with another gorilla
love it.
and wanted
awesome.
Iris to help him, so they end up helping Gorilla Grodd go on a date and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty cute.
It's
I
great.
want more comics.
Love
like
it.
that.
Now I'm gonna have to read that.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like that joke in the Fraction and Lieber Jimmy Olsen where Jimmy gets married when he gets drunk on Gorilla champagne in Gorilla City. And he's like, and he makes somebody who's like, yeah, I go to Gorilla City all the time.
Why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't you? Yeah, it's crazy. The champagne's wild.
I love that
So
they
much.
wrote that like Jimmy Olsen is the most interesting man in the world. You know, in a way, like and he would be like he would be so like he's so normal of a character as far as like he has no powers, but he's involved with everything. He's involved with everything with these strange, super powered characters and everything. It's like, yeah, he would have an incredibly interesting life.
That's the Rick Jones that Marvel needs to write.
Yeah, right. Maybe. Yeah, Rick.
Instead, it's just like cool talking. Hey, I'm young Rick Jones.
I'm James Dean.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
flick my hair and smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. And it's like, wait, who are you? Are you the idiot who drove his Jeep into the desert during a bomb test? Like
Hey,
that's always
man.
the part
I was searching for peyote, dude. What do you want?
Yeah, that was his first appearance, right? Hulk 1.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it is funny to watch them try and like make sense of Rick Jones a little bit, where it's like, oh, I guess Rick Jones at the start of this run is the Hulk. He's the Green Hulk for like an issue or two. I don't know. I guess we'll figure this out.
Somebody left him with that.
Someone left him with that. He
here you
does
go.
say in the foreword he was told that's where it would be left off, so it wasn't like a total.
They warned him.
Like they were
We're
like,
at least going to show you the bus that you're under.
they're like Rick Jones. They were like, you could do whatever you want. You can do Rick Jones is the Green Hulk. You can do the Gray Hulk. Whatever. There's the Hulk Busters. Just don't, never totally make sense. But yeah. So
I still remember the run during that, and I don't remember if it was McFarlane or not on the art, but with the leader. And I think it was McFarlane. Yeah, yeah, I remember
He's
that.
got like the big Fu Man, and his
handlebar
is so
huge.
Yeah, I mean, McFarlane does such like a cool job of just making like the really grotesque stuff. Like, really,
Yeah.
is that like the Hulk's sort of grotesque? Like,
That's the book that kind of made him. I mean, I
think it was that Wolverine Hulk issue that was a huge cover with the Wolverine or with the Hulk coming into Wolverine's claws. It's still
I know when he went to Spider-Man, that was a huge deal, and it's like it was a rocket after that. It was this Hulk run that kind of set that up, right?
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember. That's what it seems like in my memory that he was on the Hulk, and that kind of made him. And the Spider-Man thing was gigantic, but that's because it was like this big deal that he was going to Spider-Man, and he had already become. He was always my favorite of those Image guys. Personally, I liked his stuff the most,
but also seeing him, like he had done Infinity Inc. before that, which was such a different book
style,
like the Hulk. Where it's very clean. Like these are very like classic Earth 2-ish characters, even though it wasn't Earth 2 anymore at the time, but like very like clean.
Oh, that was coming right out of Crisis, right?
Yeah, and he would have. I mean, he did like some really wild layout stuff in that was very like, oh, what is this? And like to go from, doing a lot of that stuff to doing the Hulk where everything's really grotesque and the Hulk's like really ugly, like and the leader is like really ugly, like,
deformed. Like he's like, he's
deformed.
I mean, that was one of the things that I think, the idea that gamma radiation is not a good thing. Like whatever powers or abilities it gives you, like it's also it's mutating you and not in a positive, this is something like a cancer almost. Like that's what it kind of looked like, some of the effects that he, especially like I said with the leader, his brain was a deformation. It wasn't, Like
big head. It was like
it was a
gross.
growth. It was a growth,
Yeah.
like it was, yeah. But yeah, that was
I hate
that
that
was
we probably won't see the leader in the MCU because they made that character in that last Hulk movie, but I don't think we'll.
You never know.
See that carried on.
I mean, McFarlane was awesome.
He was
drawing comics. Probably could still be.
Is.
Wanted to draw comics.
He ever does it. Yeah.
He likes making toys, and
that's okay.
Yeah. He made a lot of money.
I'm like, oh man.
I wonder if he'll ever just release something. It's like, oh yeah, I've been working on this, 400-page graphic novel for the last 20 years.
I think he's a little busy running businesses, and
he doesn't seem like that type that he's been making some like magnum opus on the side.
He hasn't been doing Monster.
Yeah. I think he's done his superhero thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's right. He's really good, and like this stuff looks awesome.
Yeah, he was definitely the like of any of those Image guys. I liked Larson stuff, but and I mean, what's that?
I liked Portasio.
Yeah, he was good too, but McFarlane was just something about his stuff that was just so visceral. I
may have been a Silvestri guy.
Sylvester was cool too, but there was something about his style that like it was like Jim. It was a little too Jim Lee-ish.
I like Jim Lee.
I like Jim Lee too. I like all of them, but
the nice thing about McFarlane was I always liked that he was able to sort of like adapt a little bit to the type of thing he was doing.
Yeah.
Like the Hulk had like a little different flair to it than like Spider-Man did. And
I think his stuff had more character than like Jim Lee is, we've talked about it, amazing draftsman. Wells Portasio, Silvestri, those guys can draw the shit out of stuff and make it look really fucking cool. But McFarlane made it look really cool, but it also had something else to it. Like it had a character, it had its own sort of like, I feel like if you took those four guys and you grabbed a page of their comics, the three of them to an untrained eye may have a hard time distinguishing all, those three from each other. Whereas McFarlane's going to stand out on its own.
Yeah. He was a star for a reason.
He had a real flair. He also, like he's got a flair for storytelling as well that I think maybe some of those guys don't always have, like those little, like I said, like McFarlane's, whether that's obviously the artist is the major storyteller, right? And like those little touches of like, hey, like here's how telling the story through like the Hulk's eyes, right? And you go through all these pages where you're like, oh, I wonder why that's there, like it's just like a little way of being like, he's asleep, right? And like McFarlane always kind of had some of that stuff going on where like there was just like a little not always the what you would expect storytelling wise.
Well, graphically, he made big changes to the way that people made comics. He would break out of panel borders. He had different asymmetrical page layouts with panels. The black borders. I mean that's McFarlane, right? Nobody was really doing black borders, and so you can tell a McFarlane book from the side because all the pages are black. Right? So,
well, guys, we've established it. Todd McFarlane is awesome, but was especially awesome at drawing comic books.
Yes, he was. He was
great.
We've made it clear now. If anyone had a question whether or not Todd McFarlane was awesome,
it's crazy to think about, like like someone who's that good at something and then goes off and does also wildly successful.
Well, he was
the other thing.
If I could make
the last Image guy that was ever really newsworthy because of the fucking baseball collection that he was putting together. Yeah.
If I could draw
$1 on fucking baseballs,
one drawing as awesome as a Todd McFarlane drawing, I'd be like, that's all I would do the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like, if I just did that once, I would constantly be trying to get back to that level of awesomeness. And he just is like, I've done that. All right, I'm good. I'm gonna go run a toy company. What the fuck?
More power to him.
They made so much money.
There's something admirable about that too, of being like, I'm gonna do this now. I already did that. Maybe I like this more. He
made fucking awesome toys.
Yeah,
he changed the toy game. Like, look at toys. Look at toys before fucking McFarlane toys and action figures and that kind of shit. What he fucking did to action figures. He did you know what I mean? So it's like, you don't even talk about that.
Oh, the sports shit, the sports stuff. I mean,
it didn't exist. Action figures for fucking athletes, like that stuff didn't even exist before he started doing it. Now it's so common. Like, I don't even think you didn't even think about it.
Yeah, Eric Larson is who you would be, because Larson, those guys made so much money, none of them had to work again, and Larson just keeps putting out Savage Dragon.
He loves making comics.
He will never stop putting that book out.
No,
because he can afford to.
I don't know how well it sells or not. The fucking thing that's crazy.
To sell anything.
Spawn still fucking sells like crazy. That's you know what I mean, crazy. Like that. It's crazy. Spawn, like the Spawn Gunslinger book that's been out. That's like the #1 fucking book for the last 3 or 4 months. I think it's insane. And he's not even on it.
There are people. There are people out there that have complete runs of Spawn.
I mean,
they live. They walk among us. They are out there.
They walk among us.
Much respect to Todd McFarlane.
Yeah,
wish I was as talented at one thing.
Right, at one thing, as he is at multiple
things. But so that was my weekend. I also I read a lot of Hulk and watched a lot of Boba Fett with my son.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Are we talking Boba Fett? Should I get my helmet on? If we're gonna talk Boba Fett,
on that.
You guys talk Boba Fett.
I liked all the stuff in that show that wasn't Boba Fett.
I
love the Mandalorian episodes. There he is.
I don't know if I can hear you.
My
oh god,
my viewpoint's colored by the fact that my son loved it.
Oh, okay. Well, good. It did its job then. I guess, is it spoilers? Spoiler warning. I'm going to say some stuff that if you haven't finished watching it, like, just stop listening to this episode. You already heard the sponsor, whatever. Yeah. We're like 3 minutes out anyway.
Yeah, we're 3 minutes out anyway. When the Rancor
don't have to be
comes out of the when he rides the Rancor, and my son like got up and like yelled. He thought that was so like rad, and I was like, for Robert Rodriguez and all of his Robert Rodriguez-ness, which was all over it all the time, there was still like moments where I was like, it's pretty cool, or like, my son was he was very into it. So if that was all they were aiming for, they achieved, like, my son being so hyped after the last episode that like he couldn't go to bed.
Cool.
Yeah.
The Rancor was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh my god!" Or the when the Karen Stan, I think I pronounced that wrong, shows up after you see him get swarmed by all the bad guys, and my son also thought that was like
Kirsten.
Yeah, Kirsten was like, he thought that was also incredibly rad. He also loved the scene in the previous episode when the woman who runs the sanctuary offers to pay for all his drinks if he doesn't hurt the guy, but so he just rips the guy's arm off and pays for his drinks. It was a nice moment that I laughed pretty hard at. But
yeah, they have moments.
Enjoyable. It had stuff going on.
Yeah. We want to talk about any of the plethora of trailers that came out. I mean, we could do a whole episode on those. You're not Boba Fett.
No, but
Or is you?
Or am I?
You're the town sheriff.
I'm also not 70.
Yeah. I mean, it reinforced.
You're in way better shape.
If anything, the Book of Boba Fett just constantly. I enjoy that, like, the Favreau Star Wars universe is solely about being about how wrong the Jedi were, constantly.
Isn't that sort of all about the new Star Wars?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's all Star Wars is actually about.
At this point.
Like, hey guys, you might actually want to form attachments with people, because that seems to be the only thing that leads to anything good happening.
It's interesting to look at it. You know, I mean, if you look at the original movies, you know, the original trilogy and Lucas's, you know, stories. I mean, while Luke is trying to become a Jedi, and he, you know, and
Yeah,
we sort of enjoy the, you know, progress of that. I don't know if Lucas ever really, like, you know, meant for it to be necessarily one way or the other. Like, I don't know that he was necessarily saying, well, this is how, you know, they're right or wrong. Just, this is what the Jedi were. I mean, he was just basing them on samurai, so, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, like, I mean, in a sense, all Star Wars is about is, like, you know, it's always, you know, when it's at its best, it's focused in on a ragtag group of whatever you might be in whatever story, and, like, the fact that your friendship and what you mean to each other will trump, you know, whatever, like, bad thing is happening, as long as you, like, stick with other people. And, you know, the weirdness of, like, people becoming obsessed with the idea of Jedi, and, like, that sort of, like, tension that always exists within Star Wars of being like, you know, though I do have to say, in the Book of Boba Fett, just fucking hire someone to play Luke Skywalker. Stop with the
I thought it looked good. I don't know.
I mean, looked good. It's the voice, because it's the AI voice.
Oh,
because
right,
they took a
right.
bunch of Mark Hamill recordings from the time,
Yeah,
I know, and just
to
stitch them
generate the voice.
together.
Just have someone say it, because it sounds
Isn't Sebastian
like a computer
Stan,
voice.
Isn't Sebastian Stan playing Luke in something?
No. They just, that was like a fan
It's a
thing.
fan casting
Yeah.
thing. But just have, like, a real person say it. You know what? That's the part that I'm like, this just doesn't sound like a person saying it.
I did think the same thing.
Idea. Maybe we can move on from those characters.
Or just
right?
hire other.
You could, no, I think it would make sense to just hire a guy that's kind of looks like him and maybe kind of sounds like him, but that's just a good actor, and just let him just be his own, be Luke.
Let him
like
act.
just let him act. Yeah. As opposed to, like, forcing it into, so that you have these moments where fans go, "Oh, cool, it's Luke." Like, you haven't had enough of fucking Luke. Like, we haven't.
We go Ed Wood style, and he just brings back the original actor. Put
Your deep fake Luke Skywalker is getting outacted by, like, the fucking puppet. That's real.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm getting a little tired of seeing that puppet waddle around, though. It's so fucking dumb looking.
Yeah.
Like, I was honestly disappointed.
It's kind of hilarious.
I was honestly disappointed that they brought the fucking puppet baby Yoda back. I was just like, oh, really? I kind of wanted the Mandalorian without this fucking baby to carry around all the time. I mean, I get it. Everybody loves Baby Yoda, and you know, he's fucking adorable, but it's like, ugh, well, fucking Anchor.
Waddling.
I know what it's. I know what it is. But yeah, just, like, stop already. I think Chris is frozen on Lone Wolf and Club.
Just, you know, condense that part down.
Yeah. Either let him grow up and actually, you know, walk around. Although, even, you know, like in the prequels and stuff, when you saw Yoda jumping around like a flea, it was just weird looking. It's just odd, and it's, this character's not meant to interact in a full scale way with human beings and other actors. Like, it's just never going to quite work. It you know, if you're gonna do it, then do it. I think at that point you need to do CGI, because it looks so weird to see, the fucking like waddle.
It's like
baby.
It's gonna be 45 minutes for this thing to walk into the scene, and now everybody's gonna hate me for.
I agree. It's obviously
tasteful use.
Yeah, it's a Muppet.
Tasteful use.
It is, and like I said, I think it worked. I just was sort of hoping that season 2 of Mandalorian wasn't going to be more of him, like
season 2 or season 3.
I don't know, 3. Yeah, maybe it's 3.
2 seasons.
Yeah. I'm actually looking more forward to the Rogue Squadron or
Rogue Squadron.
Is it Rogue
I don't
Squadron?
even know.
Is that the name of it? That looks cool.
I mean, my son was so pumped that Cad Bane showed up in the Book of Boba Fett, but he didn't know anything. Cool. My son didn't know what was like. He's not on Twitter, so he doesn't get spoiled by anything. Like he's just watching it. So like he's like genuinely surprised by like he doesn't like look up what's happening.
Was he familiar with that character?
Wait, your son?
He watched Clone Wars. He watched Clone
Wars and Rebels, right?
Your son isn't into fan theories, Tom? What kind of fan is he? I mean,
I know he's just enjoying the thing.
He's like enjoying it with the innocence of a child.
He's not watching YouTube videos, trying to solve the mysteries of a movie that's coming out in 3 years.
No, he's like, oh my god, Cad Bane's in it. Like fake genuine like 8-year-old shock of like, oh, hey, I didn't think that was gonna happen. Like
I had that kind of shock whenever he rolled onto scene against Timothy Olyphant. I was like, that's fucking cool.
I didn't know who he was. Yeah. I didn't even know who he was, but I thought he was cool. I'm like, oh, that's a cool character. I didn't know. Yeah, my son informed me that he was an existing character. I thought he was brand new for the show. I had no idea. Yeah. I'm like, cool. That's a cool cowboy gunslinger kind of.
He was he ended up in Bad Batch. He was hunting. Yeah, I think he was hunting the Bad Batch for an arc.
Always hunting.
I like his teeth.
Yeah, neat character.
Why is he wearing a hat? Why I don't understand why he's wearing a cowboy hat.
Bounty hunter. Because he's a bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter. He's the only bounty hunter that wears a cowboy hat. That doesn't make any sense. Universe. It's
a Western. All right. You can hear us debate more TV and movie talk if you are a patron. We do this thing called ACTV, where once a week, except on the Super Bowl week, Sal and I sit down and talk about TV, movies, some video games, things on screens. That's what we should have called it instead of ACTV.
Things on screens.
Things on screens.
That could be in the next one. Things on screens.
Things on screens. So yeah, we do that. We also
that'd be a good horror movie podcast name.
Oh, Things on Screens.
Yeah.
Screen time. Unlimited screen time.
Things and screams. Screens. Screams.
So check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Round Comics.
And you will get ad-free versions of Around Comics on Patreon. So for being a patron.
So they wouldn't know about that great internet service?
They won't. If you're listening to this on Patreon, you won't know about that.
Well, there you go. Okay, if you listen to that if you hate ads. Tom got some Tom verses. We've got K-Billy Super Sounds. We're doing Kill Bill Volume 2 in 2 weeks. So we have 2 weeks to watch that and write down our thoughts on it. So that's all I got. You guys?
I'm gonna be on a few podcasts coming up here. I don't know when exactly, but I'm gonna be on a couple of different podcasts.
Rogan.
Soon. Yeah, I'm going on Joe Rogan to talk about COVID.
Mark Maron. You're gonna hit Maron.
Oh yeah, Mark Maron. Yeah, for sure.
What else? What other podcasts?
No, I'll let people know when I'm on. But sooner or later I'll
Welcome
be on.
to Night Vale.
Yeah, My Favorite Murder. The gals are gonna have me on. We're gonna drink some wine, some Chardonnay, and talk true crime.
Chardonnay and murder.
Yeah. No. One is I think a new podcast. Someone asked me to be a guest on, and it's I don't even know what it's called, but it's basically I have to watch the first episode and the last episode of a canceled TV show.
Oh,
and then talk about it. So I have to do that.
Start with Seinfeld.
No, a canceled show, not a show that's ended after 37 years. A show that was canceled.
Well, okay.
Yeah. No, and they gave me a list to pick from, so I got to pick.
Okay, so it's not concluded shows. What's like the first episode and the last episode?
Yeah, no, I think the basic idea is like going back and revisiting shows that never finished, and then seeing if they were maybe unduly canceled. And talking, but I'm only talking about the first episode. I'm only watching the first episode and the last episode, not all the episodes in between.
Well, what are you watching?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say yet. I'll tell you after. I'll tell you when it's closer. I don't even know when it's coming out, so it could be 6 months from now. So I don't want to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, don't get people too excited.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I'll be on something else that you're familiar with. Sometime soon.
You're doing iFanboy?
No.
Oh, okay.
11 o'clock comics asked me to sit in on the fourth chair. No, I'm kidding. That would be funny though. That would be. I'd do it just to.
Oh, I know.
Just for the joke. Just for the joke.
Yep.
No.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you for watching this here pre-recorded live stream. If anything does exist like that, we will be back next Thursday, back on our regular schedule. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around comics.
Everywhere.